never be Nick. Sluts in my city only see dick. Travel on this one-way path, fuck the scenic. Shine across the horizon like a
We're kicking live here March 17th on a Sunday, getting everything ready to go with the Rub Wrestling Podcast with Josh, Matt, Chris, Josh, and any other cycling variation of what that is. Josh, where can people find our podcast and where can they hear about us except for Feet Finder?
Yeah, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. We're on Google. We're on Apple. Anywhere you can get your any major place you can get your podcasts. And soon coming to Feet Finder, I guess.
And you can find us on Feet Finder. Chris?
Yeah. Rub this.
St. Patrick's Day. Chris, St. Patrick's Day, always a fucking shit show time back in Sudbury when we were there. Tell us your most drunken experience on a St. Patrick's Day in your life. What was the drunkest time that you were on St. Patrick's Day?
Well, I don't know if I remember the drunkest time, so I don't remember that one specific, but the one I can tell where I was very drunk and that stands out to me was when I lived in Ottawa with Musson. Was it the Heart and Crown? I'm not sure if it was the Heart and Crown, but we were gone to some bar, and I had to shit like no other. And there was a lineup, and the lineup was big, and I was last in the lineup. So, well, not last, but you can know what I mean. I was in the middle, and I literally had to walk around in that lineup and move. And finally, I guess they stopped me after they let two more people in, and then I'm like, dude, I have to shit. I have to shit so bad. I'm going to shit my pants. And then, so it was awesome. He let me in, and I went right to disgusting bathroom, of course. Nothing was clean about it. Already, pissing stuff in the toilet. And, I almost didn't have time, because you know how, when you have to pee, and when you, when you're going to take your pants off, it's that's, you've gotten there. So if you make one wrong move, it's going to come out in the pants before you get them off.
Oh, it's you're doing the entire butt clench just to hold everything. Yeah. But then your body's telling you, if I don't move, my butt clench is going to let go. So I got to move around and do these figure eights or whatever it is, just so I can keep my butt clenched, so I can keep the poop head, because that turtle head is poking out. And if not, that's going to end up as a shit in the pants, and we don't want a shit in the pants.
Especially if it's a good solid one, it'll just push. Someone might see the little push out of my butt, and then that thing's not wet poop. It's going to be stuck in there. It's going to be uncomfortable.
So your day.
Yeah. So the end of the story, basically. I managed to talk myself in, probably because I'm sure my face is red at that point just from holding it in so long in line. And I guess he believed me, so he let me in. A really gross bathroom and everything like that. But I got out, and I just sat down with whoever I was there with. No, nobody else got in. They just let me in, so all my friends were still outside.
Josh, yeah. You're not gonna top that story, so I'm not even gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you a different question in relation to this story if it was you. So if that was you in that situation, you're going in and it's a gross bathroom, do you even care about the hover dump at that point, or you just go and cheek the toilet and just shitting it out so that you don't have a log in your pants?
Oh man, I'm a hover dump person. Your ass is the dirtiest thing. If you wash your hands properly and you don't get shit everywhere, you're fine. You just sit on a toilet. Just don't touch your ass and then stick it in your mouth without washing your hands. Just fucking idiots.
I gotta write that down. Hold on.
Yeah, okay. Take notes. I went to infectious disease.
No ATM.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think I actually got out of a speeding ticket one time because I really had to shit, and I think there's just a face that when you're about to shit your pants that you make, and so. If the bouncer had that same experience, he sees your face and he's like, "Oh shit, I am gonna watch this man shit himself
and leave."
And I'm gonna see this face, the face. This is the face you're gonna make.
He was, and he was
just like, I don't know what to do right now. I just pooped in front of you.
Well, I'd leave, and he'd look over, and he wouldn't even have to ask why I left. He'd just be like, "I'm an asshole for not letting that guy in."
But he knew, yeah. So I did once get out of a speeding ticket for that.
I would almost say that the epitome of like what that would look like is if Chris would have shit his pants in front of the bouncer, would have been like in Superbad when Michael Cera actually gets bumped in and actually punches the girl in the boob and then kind of like runs off in the other direction. He's like, sorry, and then just kind of like runs off, and he's just like, if you go back and watch those two first interactions with Becca in that situation, that's what it would be like if Chris shit his pants in front of the bouncer.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Matt, I have a question for you. Do you remember going to see that movie in theater?
I don't remember
Who you went with?
I don't remember who we went with.
Oh no, was it Pineapple Express? Never mind.
Pineapple Express was it Phil the Thrill, wasn't it?
Phil the Thrill, that was where we didn't have a good supply of marijuana because it wasn't legal yet.
That's true.
And Phil was like, "It's okay. I sell knives for a living. I'm gonna be able to get us some weed." And then he found some weed, but he didn't get us in on it. He just was like, "Oh, I just got some weed for myself." Smoked it with a few guys, so it was okay. Yeah.
He ran Phil. So yeah, Phil ran into a couple of Jamaicans in Scarborough at the Lubavitch Theater or whatever it was in Scarborough. That's so funny. Oh my god. Okay, well, I mean, we could talk about pants shitting for the next hour. We could actually talk about some wrestling. So, I say we start with that. I mean, kind of an interesting week of things that are coming up. Dynamite's going to be in Toronto on Wednesday. We're going to talk about a couple of the matches there. That should be pretty interesting for what we're going through. But let's start off with the WWE. We're going to talk about a couple of the things that we saw. We're a little bit behind on a little bit of the stories, but we'll try and catch up a little bit with some of them. But let's talk about Sami Zayn. Obviously, on Monday night, last Monday, we had a big 6-man gauntlet in the main event, where I think a lot of us might have thought that Chad Gable was going to go over and actually get his WrestleMania moment. Turns out he didn't. Sami Zayn ends up winning the match, beating Gable in the last part of that gauntlet. And it looks like it's going to be Sami Zayn now that's going to fight Gunther at WrestleMania. Now, a lot of people on the internet were giving Sami a lot of hate because, like, they're pretending it's his fault, like Sami writes the goddamn story or something. But they're mad at Sami because now that Gable doesn't get his story, and looking at this. So, Chris, when you're looking at Sami Zayn, one of the theories that I have here, really kind of straightforward, is that I don't think that the WWE are very high on letting Chad Gable kind of beat Gunther just due to the kind of how it would look if that was the case. I think they're trying to find potentially somebody strong enough to take the belt off him to have Gable have his moment, but not essentially have a WrestleMania moment. Now, do you think that WWE dropped the ball here by not giving the fans what they wanted and having Gable against Gunther? Or do you think that Sami versus Gunther is the profile match to make here for the caliber of a WrestleMania card?
Yeah, sympathetically, like, the fan, my heart wanted it to go to Gable pretty bad. And he's had a few good matches with Gunther. So it kind of seemed like they had something ahead of time. They had something building. They did have those matches. They did wrestle on pay-per-view. It sucks because, Triple H could have given him his moment, but it's hard to, without any build up, it's hard to kind of put him in there for WrestleMania, take the belt off Gunther, kind of, not to say it cheapens, it would cheapen the run by Gunther, but I can get why they want to put Sami. I don't think Sami's going to win it either. I don't think either of them should, like, stature wise, I don't think he should win it over Gable. I think the only thing he has is his run that he had. I mean, he's kind of lost some popularity over the time. So I would have loved to see Gable hold that belt at the end of the day, because, like, to us, it's competitors, right? Like, it's still competitors. Again, personally, I dropped the ball. Maybe what I think business-wise, the ball wasn't dropped that much. I think Sami Zayn will probably draw more to the match than Chad Gable will anyway. So I think it makes sense business-wise. But, sometimes you got to put those in there. Like, sometimes you got to have Mikey Whipwreck win the championship.
I love Chris because I'm pretty sure he's wearing flip-flops right now with the flipping and the flopping that he did there. But he was making sense a little bit. But, Josh, when you think about it, it's not a bad thing, Chris. I'm kind of it's a hard one to really kind of think about, right? Like when you're going across, like when I think of Sami Zayn, I don't think that Sami Zayn has like he doesn't have the pedigree. I think he does have the pedigree to beat Gunther. But I also think, like, to my next question for Josh is like, Josh, the belt has to come off him at some point, right? Like, do you not think that WrestleMania is the perfect time to take it off him, to have him make a run at the world title? Because he's as of right now, if you were to look at Gunther's career and what he's accomplished right now, like, isn't he a bona fide world champion?
Yeah, I agree. I do think that it could be the ideal opportunity to take it off of him there. I think that like the reason that I agree with Chris about that Sammy's not going to win is that like the story doesn't make any sense to me. Like there's no build up to it. It's kind of like Sammy was just thrown in there. It's kind of like we need uh, someone to fight Gunther at WrestleMania, and Sami Zayn has the pedigree. And I if we don't think that Sami Zayn can beat Gunther, then why the hell did we believe that he could beat Roman? Like we were like rooting for him, last year, whenever it happened, and the moment felt right. But like if he can't go to be like the next intercontinental title, then like why were we cheering for him at all? So like it is what it is. Like when you ebb and flow out of the main event picture, then like you're inevitably going to be kind of stuck for a little while. Like Kevin Owens is kind of going through the same thing, like going into, but he's now going to fight the USA Championship. But like those are all guys that could step into the main event picture and fill a spot to get you through a pay-per-view if someone gets hurt in the future. So like I think that Gunther's got to lose because he needs to get into that main event picture. But like, really, is there going to be room for him? Like, what if the story is to keep Roman Reigns as the champion until he beats Hulk Hogan? And then you really don't want to take the title off of Gunther yet because you've got to keep Gunther in a spot where he has just been unbeatable. And the only reason he's not competing with Roman Reigns or with Seth Rollins or the guys in that line are because he is beating the shit out of people as the Intercontinental Champion. So, yeah.
So short answer question for this really becomes like, so Chris is if Sami Zayn's not the guy, who is? And I think when you look at that, like not a long answer. I think like really name two guys that you would pick over Sami Zayn to try and win the title right now.
Again, like I said, sympathetically, I'd go with Chad Gable. I don't know. I somewhat like when Josh talked. I kind of want to agree with him where who takes it off of now if that title picture is muddied up for a little bit. So yeah, so maybe that's why I don't see Sami Zayn winning. If until you get that guy clearly, then maybe just keep it on him.
Could be. Josh, do you think that there's anybody that can beat Gunther right now other than Gable?
Oh, I think that there's lots of people on the roster who could be that person who take it off. Like, I think that, like, you could have a Sheamus come back and take it, like, eventually, right? Like, I'm not saying that Sheamus is the guy. I'm just thinking of, like, who is in line to take it. Gable, I think that Gable would be fine as taking it off of Gunther. I think that he also doesn't make sense for me at WrestleMania. I don't feel like he's big enough. Like, just because I want to see it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. Just because the fans kind of give him a little cheer here or there. Like, I'm not really sure that's what he needs. Like, not to say that like he fills a role where he's kind of in a comical role right now. Like, is he going to beat Gunther as a comical character? And Gunther is very clearly like the best Intercontinental Champion that has ever lived, right? According to WWE, right? Not according to us, but I think the way that he's been booked is it's got to be someone massive. Like it could have been Randy Orton for all I care. Like someone like that can take it off of him, and I would be fine. Sami Zayn, that's fine. He can take it off of him, but I don't know, maybe a heel Chad Gable, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think like Gunther's reign is probably one of the best reigns with the title that we've had, and no pun intended saying reigns as in Roman, but like you're kind of looking at something right now like that reign is like, and how long he's had it, and it's not the longevity, has been probably one of the best keepers of the title in a long time. I mean, you know what? We've had Chris Jericho win it. Chris, I could be wrong here, like fucking like 7 or 8 times. It could be more than that. Like we have a lot of people that have been really great Intercontinental champions over the years, right? I think this might go down as top 3, one of the better reigns of how long he's had the belt, which is fantastic. I think for me that the man that's overlooked here, and I think the man that they really kind of dropped the ball on with it was Jey Uso, because you know you can call Jey Uso main event Jey Uso for as long as you want, but until he actually main events and wins a main event, like that's basically what it is. And I think like he was, for me, like at one point, even like if you go back to that match they had a few weeks ago on Raw, like that was a main event match. And they both look pretty good. And I mean, you know what? The crowd's really in it and really hot for Jay, but the WWE decided to go, and Chris, we almost have a perfect segue going into our second topic, which is the match that's coming out of that for WrestleMania is brother versus brother, Oos versus Oos, everybody getting Oosy, with, you know, basically Jay and Jimmy going to go at it. So WWE basically kind of went away from giving Jay the Intercontinental Championship to basically have this yeet/no yeet movement, and to see what's going to happen there. Now, my first question, Josh, and it'll basically go to you, is that you kind of look at, you know, Jey Uso's wrestling ability, and we all know how good he is. Jimmy's a little bit behind him on that, but does this have the ability to really steal a show or steal a night on WrestleMania from something to happen? Like, do you really think that in a match where it's just them two, it's not, there's no stipulation, no nothing, that they have the ability to really steal a match on one of the cards on night 1 or night 2?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that this could be the match of the whole WrestleMania, because like they're brothers, they're twin brothers, and so like this is kind of what they've been doing their whole lives, training for this, like training, like they know how to work with each other. And I think that like the style that they both have, they're able to produce, you know, like a very like complex, well told match that can, you know, like close this story and move on. But like I really think that like you look at like the great brother storylines, and you know, who do you think of? I think of Owen and Brett. I'm trying to think. I was reading who else is another brother combination that you would have seen.
Cody and Goldust.
Cody, yeah, yeah. But
Goldust and Stardust.
Yeah.
but like I remember the Brett and Owen feud, and I remember like getting the parents were involved, and like, Mom, he's got to throw the towel in, you know, like, and I was a big Hitman fan, and so I really think that like just the emotional story that this could have, I think it'll be great. And I think like their in-ring work is going to be like, if they can't work with each other, like this should be the best match of their lives. Like they could have been planning this match their whole careers to have this moment at WrestleMania. You know, like with the pedigree that they have, this could be the best match of the weekend, I think.
Yeah, like for me, like Chris, like one of the things that I really would have loved to see here is I think this was a perfect match to really have a stipulation in, like kind of what we said before, right? Like now, you know, Copeland and Christian are going into an I Quit match, but if you had to pick a stip for this, like what do you think would have been great? Like, would you have gone like a no DQ? Would you have done a steel cage? Like, I mean, I don't think the story calls really for a steel cage, but if you had to pick a stip, your opinion, what stipulation would you go with these two cats, and to really kind of have a great show at WrestleMania? If you booked, what would you do?
I think a cool stipulation, and I'm not just copping out because it's happening next week with the I Quit match, but I think having brothers wrestle an I Quit match is one of those perfect matches, because you have to force your own brother to say I quit. And you said steel cage, and that was going on in my head a little bit. I said, you know what, I wouldn't mind to see that, like the classic steel cage with this, right? But yeah, I think I Quit, because that would add to the drama. I agree with Josh, says like this, they definitely have the most potential on the card to have the most drama and the most kind of, you know, personal story in that story. So they could really take it out here. So whether I mean, wrestling wise, they can still steal the show, but I think even if their wrestling isn't incredibly on point, if they tell a story like like brothers with the emotion they can, I think yeah, could definitely catch a lot of eyeballs and steal the show. But yeah,
And
I Quit match would be what I would pick, because I think the dynamic between brothers in an I Quit match is perfect.
yeah, I totally agree. I think I probably would have even leaned with a no DQ. Would have at a very minimum, a no DQ would have been fantastic here to kind of look. We still have a couple weeks. I mean, you never know. Something can happen. You still have a feeling that Solo is going to probably get involved at some point, and there's lots of little cool nuances with it. But I think honestly, like when you're two brothers in there and you have a bond like that, kind of like being twins too, on top of that, and kind of go in and you're wrestling is all really about trust anyways, and going through, you're going to be able to pull off, some big maneuvers on a big night like WrestleMania and really make it stand out as a masterpiece. And I think if you could do that, great. And if you can't, then it's kind of back to the drawing board to figure out what the hell went wrong, and that's what people are going to talk about instead. Now, I had something that
Coffin match.
Josh,
Loser leads the island match.
Yeah.
Losers off the island of relevancy into an ambulance match, into 2 out of 3 falls for the for the best brother award at WrestleMania.
You know, like a
Sounds
2 out of
fantastic.
3 falls would be. I agree. There should be a stipulation, because like otherwise you're just gonna have a plain match. You want to have death match. There you go. 1 man enter, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
It's
There's
like
no death
it's
match, right? Like,
fucking welcome to Thunderdome, and it's the Thunderdome and Rollerball put together.
But with the brother dynamic, I think they do have enough drama to have just a straight on match, because Brett and Owen had straight on matches and they were good, because it's still like it's almost a stipulation alone just being brothers, so it kind of does give you a little bit of that, because there's kind of more on the line for them on that night than a title anyways right now. So that's
It wasn't like the throwing the towel thing like with Bob Backlund anyways. That really wasn't even Brett and Owen together. Like basically
it was part of the feud, though.
Yeah, Bob Backlund I think had Brett in the chicken wing for like 10 minutes or whatever it was. And then he's like, yeah, Mom, throw in the towel. You have to throw in the towel. Brett's dying. He's killing him. And then and then he throws it, and then he goes.
And Jericho has the most intercontinental reigns at 9.
That's close. I thought it was 8, but yeah, it was close. But yeah, I mean, the cool part is on WWE right now, they're not going to tell you what nights are up, but they do have the matches that are there. So you can go see which matches are kind of kicking up. Now, bringing us to WrestleMania and closing in probably on the main event of night 1 and night 2, which is going to be very unique. We're going to actually talk about The Rock. And one of the things about The Rock is that, he's got this new moniker now kicking off after Friday night, which is now he's known as the Final Boss. Fucking ridiculous, in my opinion. So it kind of brought me up to this scenario here. It's like, well, Rock, since you're going to be on night 1, I don't think it makes you the final boss going into night 2. But he's declaring himself the final boss. He went out and he brought his guitar, brought whatever, his ukulele or some shit, and did another song and dance, and kind of wrecked the legacy of the old ones that he did in Sacramento, which if you ever saw the Sacramento ones are by far the best rock concert that you've ever seen. But he basically went out and he wrecked this. Now, my question, Josh, is is The Rock really making an impact here? Obviously it's impacting and shaping the way WrestleMania is looking, but is he truly making an impact? Is the nostalgia worth it to basically kind of change our opinion of him, of what we remember from that nostalgia 20 years ago? Or is the appearances that he's going to put out now, do you think they're going to look back on it as a positive thing or a negative thing? What are your thoughts on that?
It's so hard because it's so funny because he was clearly very over on SmackDown, and I the segment was 10 minutes too long, which I guess Rock segments tend to be like that. It's just I don't know. It's funny because it's him implanting himself in this story to save WrestleMania. I don't know if I'm buying it. I think it's fine. I think he's definitely drawing interest. It's definitely making things different. Whether or not, he's the final boss or how that's going to play out, I'm not really sure. it's definitely keeping me watching the programming. So like, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's like just a matter of time before he goes over as a baby face when he's Hollywood Rock, because people start loving that character, and like that's fine and dandy. But like, is this all for 2 matches? Like, how many matches does he have in him? He's got one tag match clearly, but like, is he going to just fight Roman? Is he the final boss? Is Roman really just King Hippo?
I guess you did.
Sandman. Mr.
Yeah,
Sandman.
you know what? I would have said the same thing if you're gonna go there. He's basically.
I know. I was, but I'm just saying it's like by The Rock saying that he's the final boss. That what's that to say about like the greatest champion of our era?
I find it very contradictory, because if I was Roman sitting there and I'm like the fucking, going in and I've been the alpha all the way through, and I have this guy saying that he's the final boss, like there's got to be a reason for why you're using that moniker. If not, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. And that's what really kind of makes me mad on it when I heard it. I'm like, what makes you so final? Like, you're going to do night one. Chances are you're probably going to win the tag match, because you're going to want to put Cody through any pile of shit to make the win go even more higher than what it is. Like, I don't see Roman and The Rock losing on night one. I really don't. I don't think anybody sees it that way. I think they're going to screw Seth and Cody to make sure that everybody has a visceral response, and that we're all going to look at our camera, like on our TVs, and we're going to go, ooh, like that's what's going to happen. Like, and then basically night 2 is going to happen, and a bunch of crazy cool shit's going to happen on night 2.
And Cody's going to lose.
Yeah. I mean,
shake
whatever.
harder, boy.
Yeah. Shake harder, boy. But I think in a lot of cases, like, I think when we're looking at this, like, it's almost like Roman's character would be pissed off to hear that when I think of it. Like, he's like, it's all about Roman Reigns. He's the most self-centered person in the world at this point. So for him to come across and hear that, like, why wouldn't he get mad, right? Like, that's the first thing I think of. And it's also like, I'm feeling that now, to Chris, this is my thought for you, is like, I find that a lot of the stuff he's doing is like regurgitating Hollywood Rock. Like, but now it's 10 years later and it's not as relevant, or 50 years later and it's not as relevant as it was back then. And I find like it's not that it's wrecking my opinion of it. Like, Josh, you're right. Like, crowd pops for him because he's in Tennessee, and Tennessee was where he grew up. Like, they're gonna pop there no matter what. They're gonna boo the fuck out of him anywhere else he is. But is the regurgitation something like, is this just something that I'm overthinking? Is this something that like does this regurgitation gonna hurt what it is? Because I always think back to the line that Rollins said a couple weeks ago, where he said, it's our time and you can't have ours. And that's the way that I'm kind of seeing this, like through this. Is it meant to be that way, or am I crazy? So basically I'm asking you if I'm insane or not.
Well, I'm not going to answer that, but on this topic, no. It should be their time. It's it should be Seth and Cody's time. This whole thing. I mean, we've built this for Cody for 2 years to get here, and now all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm The Rock. I have a shareholder. Here I am. Like, we know stuff like that now. It's in the dirt sheets. We can read that. We know that you're on the board, and you basically just inserted yourself. Brought Brian Gewirtz back as well. So like it's a little off-putting, but you know what? I don't mind the stuff he's doing. I find it entertaining. I watched a couple of the promos. I like how he's getting back into heel rock, where he's talking about Cody's mom and telling her what she's gonna do with the blood-covered belt with Cody's blood on it. So, you know, like so to me, it's entertaining. He's coming back to kind of what he was in the Attitude Era, so it's entertaining. But yeah, to me, generally, I didn't need to see The Rock at WrestleMania at all. I didn't need to see The Rock. I don't think anybody needed to save WWE. I think they would have been fine. Maybe I'm sure The Rock.
Which kind of brings me to my point, right? Like, is it regurgitation? Like, he's always entertaining. It has nothing to do with the fact he's entertaining, but is the regurgitation going to hurt what he did 15 years ago? Because it's now he had a chance to to rebrand. He's just basically playing Dwayne Johnson. He's not playing The Rock, like, in my opinion. He's just playing him. He's got a product placement in every fucking shot. He's got a Zoa in one hand. He's like, and if he could, he'd have his tequila brand and his 15 other brands in front of him every single time he was out there. So does this just make him look really bad, like, on that end when that's the case? Like, this is where I'm kind of thinking, am I crazy or not?
Okay, so no, you're not crazy there either. It's like he's a 50-year-old Logan Paul basically right now. So like he's just always got something. The label's always out the right way. So
he's not even going to have a Charizard around his neck. Josh is going to get this one. He's going to find a Black Lotus, an
Right.
Black Lotus, and have that around his neck, right?
Beta.
So that's
an alpha or a beta, yeah, beta Black Lotus, like the expensive one, graded 9.5.
Perfect.
And just to circle back what you said about Roman Reigns, like I would totally feel the same. Like how does Roman Reigns feel now? Yeah, so I get that too. So and what kind of wrench does it put into the performers, like to Cody and Roman? Like why do they want to make this match big now? It's not been looked over, but there's more been added to it than it's like The Rock came in and didn't believe that Cody and Roman could save WrestleMania, so he had to put himself in the story. So I'd be pretty upset if I were both of them.
Josh, last question for you to close out the WWE topic. Are we just stupid, or is this all just about making money and we're just fucking idiots to believe whatever we're talking about right now?
I don't. Well, I mean, no, we're definitely not stupid. I mean, can't say that we're stupid. We're marking hard. Oh, baby, am I marking off? Getting those nips hard. You know what? I was also thinking just a second ago. What if The Rock wasn't talking to Cody when he said he was the final boss, but he was talking to Roman, and he's like, "I'm your final boss, motherfucker." And you know,
so Cody loses again.
Cody's not going to win. I think Cody loses at WrestleMania. This story is not over. This story is, and then he's going to cash it in, and it's not going to be against Roman though. Like Roman's going to just retire the champion after he beats Hollywood Hogan.
Going to be as many Cody stories as Sharknado.
The Olympics. By the time Cody wins the title, the Olympics. By the time Cody wins the title, the Olympics are going to allow PEDs.
Do you think that like The Rock feels like he felt similarly when he was wrestling Hogan at WrestleMania versus like what's happening now with like Roman and Cody and them? Like, is it similar? Like, is WrestleMania just that stage where you bring the guys like who are the best historical wrestlers?
I don't. Sorry, I'll like. Yeah, I don't think they would feel the same because when The Rock wrestled Hogan, Hogan was not Hogan, so it's still kind of like worlds collided. I mean. But it's
kind of like the same thing, right? Like,
or did they main event?
They did.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
They main evented.
So,
so what ended up happening? Like the difference with that is that was basically that Hogan Rock match, in my opinion, was the passing of the torch that never happened. Right? Like that's essentially what it was. And because it was obviously in fucking Toronto, everybody fucking changed the script on the wrestlers all the way through. Like everybody started cheering for fucking Hogan, and because Hogan was NWO Hogan. And then everybody started booing The Rock, because in the States it was the opposite. They were booing the shit out of Hogan and cheering The Rock and wanted to watch Rock lay the smackdown on Hogan, right? So, and no, like, fuck for real. So like when it got to Toronto, it got fucking crazy. Like you watch, it's gonna be, I know we're gonna be off topic because we're going Wednesday night, right, to Dynamite, but Wednesday night they're not gonna boo Christian Cage.
No,
they are gonna fucking cheer for Christian Cage more than you'll like. I'll be shocked if they boo, because the Canadian fans are like that. Everybody's gonna go nuts for Cage.
I almost got his shirt. I am your father. I wanted it, but yeah.
I'm your daddy's daddy.
The patriarchy.
Fuck, it's great. Like, and I mean, but that's the reality. That's a Canadian wrestling fan for you. That's a step up to say, hey guys, we're not USA marks. We're Canadian marks. We're not going to fall for the actual thing. We're going to do the opposite to show you guys that we know what's going on. So and that's what that is, right? Like to the end of it. But yeah, I mean, we're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. We're pretty damn close. What is it? It's the 17th today. We're probably 2-3 weeks away from WrestleMania. It's going to be fucking mental.
Things could still change. Injuries, who knows? Things could change.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You got about four shows, and then the NXT stuff is going to be pretty good. Like, I mean, you're going to be looking at probably like a feud, not even a feud, but just a rivalry that's been happening all the way through with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. And Trick Williams was probably 6 months ago, I would say, is probably a bag of dicks. He was pretty terrible, and now he's actually like wrestling really well. He's got a lot of confidence in the ring, and he's turning into like a massive superstar right before our eyes. And that'll be a really interesting match. Like, I think NXT, like even Stand and Deliver, is going to be a fucking amazing show too. Like, it's going to be a hell of a weekend. That's the best way to put it. Now, moving on to AEW, we had a very, very big debut that was basically spoiled by Tony Khan and everybody else about 3-4 hours before the show. So basically, we knew that there was going to be a massive debut, and that massive debut was for the CEO, formerly known as the Boss, which is Mercedes Moné in Boston, having her debut and kicking off the show of Dynamite last week with basically her starting out. Now, guys, I don't really have a lot of questions about, Mercedes Moné's debut. So I'm going to come out with just the best question I can ask at this point. Chris, is this a massive win for AEW, and was her debut in Boston as the opening of the show a success?
Yeah, it's big. I don't think it's as massive. I don't think she alone is going to save it. Was a good entrance. It sucked that it got leaked because I think it could have been just that little bit better. But yeah, I think it was successful. The ratings went up. They didn't go up huge. I think it was only 32,000 more viewers overall, but so it moved the needle. It shows that it's going to move the needle somewhat, and it's never just going to be one person who moves the needle. But I think she can come in, and that's another cog in the wheel for the women's division. Jamie Hayter's got to come back. Britt Baker's got to come back eventually. They have some new people they've built up. So I think it's big for their women's division if it's done right, and if they if they don't just use her namesake to try to kind of boost everything without putting the work into making the whole division better.
Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a weird segment because usually Chris asks you to book, but I'm going to ask Josh to book here because you brought up something really interesting. So with the impending return of Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker, Josh, and this is more about like the women's division as a whole. Would you kind of add those two women and take Mercedes Moné and then kind of trim the fat in that division? Would you make releases as Tony Khan to kind of make the division, like, show that the division is getting stronger by also cutting a couple people or getting them to go back to the indies before they come back to AEW?
I mean, I don't think that just based on how Tony Khan's been doing it, I don't think he needs to cut anybody. I think that he just slowly doesn't renew their contracts and they just kind of disappear. I'm actually really excited for the women's division. A lot of the women that they've been bringing in, like Queen Aminata, I'm going to pronounce that wrong. Like, she's had some really good showing. She's a bigger woman, more physically imposing, and I really like that. I'm not excited for the women's division to have more prominent stronger wrestlers because the WWE women are far superior in my opinion to the women in AEW, just the product, but it's getting better, and I'm hoping that Mercedes Moné brings that to the women's division. I'll note that that two promotions this week had women's matches as the final match. So in AEW on Dynamite, they closed with Willow Nightingale, and I think it was on SmackDown, Bailey and Dakota Kai had a match, and so it's great to see that they're actually investing in it. I don't want them to not invest in it, right? If they're not going to give them the matches, if they're not going to give them the time, then they're not going to develop, and they have to give them the spotlight. So hopefully this edition it helps bring around the locker room, but you're also going to have to give her the title, and can she keep that title forever? I don't know. Hopefully, we don't know what happened with WWE and if it was creative differences or whatnot, because that place was crazy with Vince in charge. So like anything could be the case. But if she has problems not, winning titles, then there might be a problem there. But I think it's a great addition.
I think the problem that they had going through there was just how the story was played out and how they felt. I think her and Trinity at the time, or what was it, Naomi?
Naomi.
Whoever it is. Sorry, I get them mixed up since the name switches. But but her and Naomi end up going on the tag titles, and then they're not even on a show. I think it was really about the disrespect that they felt that they were getting from WWE Brass when they were going across. I think Mercedes is a great hand. The knock on her is that she's often injured. I think she's had some bad injuries that have happened over the past. Like her debut should have been 6 months ago, but then she got hurt in a match with Willow Nightingale for that and JPW Strong in that tournament, which she was gonna hold that title, that NJPW Championship, and debut in AEW, right? So that kind of threw it back a little bit. But I mean, if we're looking at who we think the best match is, who do we think the best match is for Mercedes Moné to really kick off? I mean, she came out and saved Willow from what was it, Julia Hart, and from Sky Blue, I think it was. If I'm mistaken on that? But she basically came out and saved Willow. Now, who do you think? Like Josh, I know that you were saying that you think that Willow is her best match, and for her going forward. Am I right with that?
Well, that's the match that they have that's going to be booked. I think they're teasing it, and that's what they're speculating. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Willow Nightingale. I like her. I want her to be a heel though. I don't like her as a super baby face, and which she is. Like I want her to be more like an Awesome Kong and be like dominant. I just think that like I want to see, if I'm going to see Mercedes Moné perform, to be honest, I'd like to see her with a smaller wrestler so that she can do some of her moves a little bit better, because I think it'd be difficult for her to get Willow Nightingale over for a few of the moves. So maybe I'd like to see her with like a Thunder Rosa or something like that, just because I think they would have a more agile match. Not to say that I don't think that they'll have a great match. It's not my first pick. They're both faces right now, so it doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's actually interesting that you also mentioned Thunder Rosa, because Thunder Rosa is getting pretty close to coming back to the ring. We're also, we talked.
She was in the ring. She's back in the ring.
She's back.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I you know what? Even if I haven't, then I probably missed it. Was it was it on Dynamite, or did I miss?
She was in a tag action, I think, on Saturday.
Okay,
she's been back though. She's starting to like call her shot again.
Yeah, and it's you know what? Like I think we saw a promo for Serena Deeb coming back too, which is also a pretty good hand at that. Now, Chris. Now this is just a thought. Just a thought, okay? What do you think about Mercedes Moné going into the EVP elites? The elite VPs.
Interesting.
Because she's the CEO. Because she's the CEO.
Right.
And could you imagine her being in the elite VPs? Just saying.
Yeah. No, I like it because she's gone heel before, and I like it. And I think with Okada, this is, and then we'll talk about Okada later, but I'll explain my thought. I think that would actually.
I would think that like on paper. Now this is again, hear me out. Listen, calm down. On paper, I think Okada and Mercedes Moné is the best mixed tag in AEW. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, I like that.
Josh, you like when I talk like this, or is it making you upset right now?
Yeah, the best mixed tag. I haven't seen them wrestle all that, so I guess I don't know who the best mixed tag would be. But that's that's a hot take. That's what the kids call it, right? It's a hot take.
Hot take.
It's not mid, that's for sure.
It's not mid.
And then when MJF and Okada start feuding at some point, then MJF can get his partner, who is like kind of a wrestler, kind of an announcer, at some point to come in the ring too. That'd be interesting.
No, you bring in the cat, his ex-girlfriend. The cat.
No, the cat. Alicia. I like Alicia too. She's nice. She gives some good interviews. But anyways, that'll be interesting. Mercedes, I don't know where it goes or where it is going. I think it's got title written all over it in the next 6 months. Definitely in the picture. I'd love to see her potentially even fight Statlander. Like maybe Statlander gets jealous and maybe she's the one that goes heel. and sides with Stokely too. A lot of cool shit can come out from that, but time will tell, and Mercedes Moné is all elite. So now we're going to talk about the co-main event and the main event of Dynamite on March 20th in Toronto, as we've said. So we're going to talk about Eddie Kingston against Kazuchika Okada for the Continental Championship on Dynamite. And my first question becomes real simple. It's just a real simple answer. There's been some fights. They fought a little bit. There was a 6-man tag. Okada basically beat the shit out of Kingston. Josh, is Okada walking out of Toronto with that title or those 3 belts? And is he going to be the Continental Champion moving forward?
You know what? I think that you might read me. I think that he's going to lose. I don't think he's going to win on a Dynamite. I think it's too soon. I don't think that. I'm not saying that he shouldn't hold those titles. I just think that like that's not the direction that they're going yet with the story. I think that Eddie Kingston is going to persevere in this one and win because it'll be better for the story, short term or long term. But I can be like, I see both of your faces, and you both seem to think that like this is the man, Josh, and you didn't get it. Like this was supposed to be really easy.
You know what my problem is?
I feel
Turn
like
the
it's too
podcast
soon.
off. End of recording.
Like
No, my only question and the only issue that sometimes when I have when we talk about things on this podcast is that it always relates to like some magical story going A, B, C, D, then the title happens. It's kind of a professional sport. So like I just kind of think of it, I don't look at it that way. I kind of say, does it feel right? Like he's beaten Kingston twice. So I like how much is he gonna go on and beat Kingston until we get to a pay-per-view like Dynasty? Like there has to be some screw jobs and shit that happen if that's gonna happen. Like if Kingston wins, I can see Kingston winning in Toronto. I think it's better for that group to get over by having Okada kind of not like be the lead, but not be the lead because he doesn't speak the greatest English. Like the voice pieces are going to be the Jacksons all the way through. And like Kingston's had his run. And I mean, if Kingston they've done a great job of getting Kingston over for that. And I think like what you could do is kind of the opposite. Whereas, title switches hands, you have kind of Kingston start chasing and kind of go through. So I think he is going to win, but I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think we have this scenario where it's like, I feel like it's got to make sense. It's like the one thing that never made sense, but I thought was one of the best pieces of business in WCW was when Fit Finlay upset Booker T and won the TV title. That led to some of the best wrestling matches that we've seen over the next 4 months after that, which was like, who was it? Booker T and Benoit going after the title. There was Booker T and Booker T fought, like, I can't remember, but basically Booker T and Fit Finlay fought like best out of 7. And then it ended up leading to like Chris Benoit getting in there too at some point before he left for WWE. Like sometimes that little switch that kind of happens just kind of creates like
but like okay, so my question is does that title not have to then travel back to Japan? Like that's part of the deal with that title, right? Is that like they also defend it in NJPW? So this is one of my reasons why I don't think Okada should would win this title. Or they would book him like that. Is that like, do you get him? And then you just have him go right back to Japan to wrestle for them again right away instead of just continuing to pump him into your product. That's the only reason that's one of my questions is that like, cool. Why would you like Eddie Kingston's already over there. You literally just signed this dude and like you could have him on 2 shows a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, but then you're gonna ship him back to Japan to defend that title because I think they defend
why
in
not?
Japan as well. I'm just saying
like,
not right away. I'm not saying not eventually. I'm just saying is that like if you gave it to him tomorrow, if he has to be in Japan next month, then you're like, oh fuck, that's too soon. He should just be in the US.
I got you.
And looking like that. That's why I feel like it's too soon. Not because he can't hold it. It's just that he literally just arrived. So I feel that's why I think. So I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I like that with AEW. They give you surprises and they give you title changes on non-pay-per-view events. Like, I'm expecting some big wins on fucking Wednesday.
Oh,
I'm
fuck, for
excited.
sure, 100%. And Chris, sorry, I'm gonna go really quickly first through this, and then we'll come back to what you were gonna say. But yeah, Eddie Kingston hasn't even gone over to NJPW because everything that he's been doing has been on the strong end, but mostly he's been on ROH, right? So I wouldn't want to, like, if I was Tony Khan and I give him that title, I'm saying the exact same shit as you are. You're not going back to fucking Japan. Like, you're not going. Like, you can go to Japan and defend that title, but you're not going anytime soon because we're trying to get this character over that you're now this fucking businessman. And, the last thing I want to send you is I want to send you back to where you came from, like in that scenario so that you can get them over. Like, it's about getting us over now. And then, you know what? At a Wrestle Kingdom, yeah, fuck yeah, you can go back, right? Or a G1 Climax saying for 3 months, you want to be in a G1 Climax? Great. You can go back. If we have nothing for you, fuck it, go. But if we have something for you and you're going to be part of a big storyline, you're not fucking leaving. Like, you're contracted to us. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
That's basically what I was gonna say. Like, they could, they could hold it up. They don't have. I'm sure they don't have to contractually send him right away, but it could be good for the relationship too. Like Matt was, like I was gonna say,
I'm like with Josh though, Chris. Like, I wouldn't send him back in any capacity for the first year,
ROH,
like at
or
all.
even
like,
to ROH. What's the point? Why would you? What if he gets hurt? Like in ROH?
ROH, you give that to the fans as a treat. Like, that's a treat on a night in a big, like in a wrestling town. You give them that Kazuchika Okada in the main event.
And that's how I would treat him having that belt going back to Japan. Like, to give them a treat because you still want to have that relationship with NJPW, right? Yeah. So, I mean, there would be ways to do it. It just wouldn't be something right away, and it wouldn't be something that would happen often is how I'd want to do it. But yeah, once in a while, like once or twice a year, maybe if you had that belt, that would work for me. But anything more than that would kind of, yeah. What's the point? Why are you going back to, you just came back from there. But yeah, so ideally that's what we see. If he does win, he's not going back to Japan right away because that's kind of weird to take our eyes off him.
Yeah, you guys are my best friends, and the funny part is, like, in Josh, I just had like the weirdest thought in my head where you're just like, give it to Dolph Ziggler. Like, that's what my mind was thinking. I'm like, Josh is probably saying, give it to Nick Nemeth right now and see what he does with it.
He's the best seller in the business. I think that was his downfall. He was so good at selling that they couldn't let him go over.
Didn't sell any pay-per-views this weekend. Neither their pay-per-view. Did anybody see the TNA Sacrifice stuff? I guess their pay-per-view didn't even work. It didn't even work half the time.
Well, I guess they beat I guess the system beat the shit out of Nick Nemeth, and that's the only thing I really read. I didn't really read much other than that. But
yeah,
who's got the time?
Looked like it at the time.
No, who's got the time? Like, how do you like? I got wrestling 5 days a week already.
True.
I think
and then a podcast once a week.
I think the problem is also it's the money that's involved, right? I'd rather save my, like, and this is not a shot at TNA. It's just like, if I'm going to put my money into wrestling, I'm already putting in like probably about $50, $60, $70. People are like, well, whatever, it's $70. Yeah, okay, I get that. But then we start throwing in pay-per-views at $50 a pop. Now going to be 6 times a year if we count World's End and Dynasty now to the other 4.
And going to live ones.
And so, yeah, and going to live shows, like, you know what, Toronto's going to have Dynamite on Wednesday. They're also going to have Money in the Bank, which is something that we've all talked about going to. And like, you kind of look at all these things and it's like, okay, do I really have time for TNA? Like, if TNA came to Toronto, I'd gladly support. Like, I would gladly show up and support, but I'm not going to spend $20 or $25 on a pay-per-view that I don't think is worth $20 or $25. And I think that's kind of where some of the problems lie. I think it's worth more than what they've paid. But I'd say even Chris, like back in the YouTube days, and Josh, you were the same way. I remember paying the 99 cents for the subscription, right? A couple years ago and during COVID. And my problem is for a pay-per-view is that if they're gonna have their pay-per-view even at 19 or 24 or whatever dollars. Like, the only TNA pay-per-view that I paid that $20-some for was the one that Kenny Omega showed up and kicked the shit out of what's his face. And we can't even remember who he beat the shit out of, but it was like the guy that basically got into the car, like the car thing, and like threw his girlfriend out of the car or whatever it was.
Don't remember.
Can't remember.
I'll get his name here in 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Okada, this whole story is fucking great. I love this shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember now.
Yeah. That was quick. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's kind of, I know we're on a tangent here with TNA, but I mean, the question is, how much would you actually pay for their pay per view? So Chris, like, if I had to give you a dollar number that you were going to pay for, because they do like 10 to 12 pay per views a year. So how much would you pay for it?
15 to 20, I guess would be like that would be I'd top out at that.
Yeah, like, see, I would top out at that, but I mean, if I was consistently going to pay for it, it would have to be like
$9.99.
10 to 12.
Yeah.
Because that's the quality I'm getting out of it, right? Like, I don't necessarily, I'm not invested as much as everybody else. They don't necessarily have, they're on Anthem. I don't have Anthem as a TV deal. So unless I'm going to spend more money on TNA than what I'm going to spend on everything else, that's the only way I'm going to watch it. That's not feasible as a business model, right?
Right.
Josh, what would you spend?
You know, I think my time's more valuable. So I don't have the time.
That's the other point as well, right?
It's already AEW is on TSN. It's easy to watch and access and pay for the pay-per-view. And then WWE is on Sportsnet, and it's pretty easy for me to get my shit. And it's like it's easy to access, and like the product's better on both ends. Like WWE's got better entertainment, and AEW's got way better wrestling. Like at least consistently for free, not for free, but you can watch better than pay-per-views on Wednesdays. So
yeah, like I mean, your Sportsnet Plus comes out to about $28 Canadian. Your TSN comes out to about, I think it's like 24 or 25, depending what else you're getting, right? So literally for $55 a month, you're getting probably some of the best wrestling on TV, and you're getting WWE PLEs. So on a given
plus all
month,
my baseball and hockey,
For
all
real.
the sports that I'm gonna watch. So like it's part of that package, baby.
yeah. So Sportsnet and TSN, give us some fucking free shit, you losers. Anywho, we're gonna go into the final topic of the night, but just before we do that, Chris, is Okada winning on Wednesday night?
Yes.
Josh, are you siding with Kingston winning?
I still think Kingston's gonna win.
Okay,
Got a little side bet, Chris.
I'm gonna go with Okada. Josh, I'll bet you a beer at the venue. Going into the
Okay,
event.
I get a fake Heineken for me and a hipster beer for you.
Fucking no IPAs. That stuff is the most
Okay,
overrated shit.
whatever you want.
All right. And now we're coming into the main event, which is going to be Adam Edge Copeland. I don't know if can we even say Edge on this podcast, or are we going to say Adam Copeland?
He should have went by Sludge, is what I said. Instead of he should have came in to AEW as Sludge, so that he didn't have to be called Adam Copeland.
So we got Sledge Copeland against the father of the patriarchy. We have against Christian Cage for the TNT title, which is basically going to be kind of a pickup from a pay-per-view a couple months ago. And it's an I Quit match in the main event. And this one just has banger written all over it. Both boys basically from, I don't know, pretty much close to north of the GTA. I want to say somewhere near Orangeville, if I'm not mistaken. But we got two best friends, two people that are going to go in there that are going to be in basically close to their hometown, and they're going to fuck shit up. And hopefully they come in the crowd. Maybe me and Josh will be able to touch one of them or whatever, or, wipe our shirt on it and then get them to sign it and we can sell it, whatever, on eBay or to Chris for $200.
No thanks.
You don't want a Christian Cage sweat infused V-neck sweater? Are you kidding me?
I actually don't.
But anyways, all jokes aside, this is going to be a fucking banger. And it really is. We've seen what happens with these two guys when they get thinking. Like the last pay-per-view, I think when it was Christian Cage against Daniel Garcia, Chris, where I literally thought that Christian Cage hurt his leg and then he got up and basically fucking finger poked Daniel Garcia right in the face. And I'm like, this guy's fucking got it. He's going to pull some of that shit on Wednesday night. Are you fucking excited for this? Is this one of the best main events that we've seen in wrestling on free TV so far this year? What do you think?
Yeah, it's good. Gets my loins frothy for sure. So, and I think this has the same. One of the reasons it makes me so excited is similar to the Usos. It's like two brothers wrestling. So when you have that, even though they're not blood family, there's still going to be dynamic storyline. There's going to be a lot of story to tell. I don't know. Edge doesn't do it as much for me in AEW as he did it for WWE. So what I'm wondering a little bit the more I watch is was I a bigger Edge fan when he had somebody directing him or somebody who had more control over his character than he did? Because kind of doesn't do it for me, and I feel bad to say that because I love him, but I think with this one, yeah, it's gonna be a banger. It's gonna hit hard. It's gonna hit hard, and it's gonna be good. I Quit match with two guys who are like brothers, just like I said with the Usos. It's a perfect stipulation.
Yeah, there's going to be stuff flying around, potentially people going off stages. There's going to be some probably electrical equipment. Josh, what are you really looking forward to see here? If you were a betting man, are we going to see a concerto on Wednesday night?
Ooh, I think we're going to see lots of. Yes, we're definitely. I feel like yes, we're going to see a concerto. I do feel like Adam Copeland's going to go over, aka Sledge. I think that he might win with a concerto. Did you see he brought out Mr. Spiky? He said, inspired by Mick Foley. That was what was in the briefcase. The way that Christian reacted to the briefcase, I thought it was a picture of Gangrel and they were getting the breed back together. Like, I really, really was hopeful that, although, Gangrel was really never part of the final outcome for that trio anyways. But yeah, I think that this is going to be an exceptional match. I'm excited. I kind of agree about Adam Copeland in AEW versus WWE in the sense that I haven't been resonating with him as much, but I also really like the heels right now. I'm really, really hard for the heels. So I like what Christian Cage is doing, or as Nigel McGuinness calls him, Christian Cage. I think that Adam Copeland's filling that void, and he's giving those marks who love baby faces, the really dumb marks, the ones that just really like the baby faces. He's giving them what they need, and Christian is giving me exactly what I need: hard nipples and a great feud. So I'm excited.
Josh just said a line there that would be perfect for a T-shirt, and there's two of them that I just came up with. So we can TM them right now.
Heels?
Yeah, hard for heels is one. That's one of them, and the other one is hard nips, hard heels.
Find us on Feet Fighter and Pro Wrestling Tees.
Imagine we were on Pro Wrestling Tees. That's how we really know we made it. It's not even a sponsorship deal. This is how you made it. We're on Pro Wrestling Tees, motherfucker.
Home of the run, the home of hard nips and hard heels.
Hard nips, hard heels, and OnlyFans.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many little things you can talk about in this match. There's going to be, obviously, you're going to have Kill Switch, which I don't really like that name. I kind of really do like Miss Luchasaurus. We have Nick Wayne, Christian's illegitimate son, and then basically we have Nick Wayne's mom, which is kind of interesting too. Now, Chris, I'm going to ask you a question: is Nick Wayne's mom hot?
She's okay. I don't know. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying she's ugly. She's just like my style of an older lady is not more of a Nicole Kidman or Dame Judy, or not Judi Dench. God no. Sorry.
Judi Dench.
Helen Mirren.
Judi Dench from
the
second best exotic Marigold Hotel. Is that Judi Dench?
Yeah. No, I don't know. She's fine. It's just hot. No, but
Josh, did you ever think Chris would say those words? You know who's hot? Judi Dench from the exotic Marigold Hotel.
You're looking up Judi Dench?
Oh man!
No, what I'm looking at is how you think Nick Wayne's mom is an older woman. She's probably younger than us. You fuck.
I think she's around probably 40.
He's 18. He's 18. We can definitely have an 18-year-old child right now.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
sure.
I can't. I don't know.
I think she's great looking. I think she adds something to that group too that makes it really she's. I love when she goes for the low blow, and I love when she does whatever it is. It's great. I think she does a great job.
She's good with that. Yeah, I do like her. I do like her with that squad. She's. I didn't think she was gonna do much at the start, but she's doing well.
I think if she had a moniker for her, she should be the last line of defense. Last line of defense. Nick Wayne's mom. End of story. Miss Wayne. Last line of defense. Fuck. Anyways, that match is gonna be nuts. We're gonna kind of go through, but Chris, do you think Edge or Sledge Copeland goes over here? Finally,
Yeah, it's intro. Yeah, I think this is the one. This is the one he gets it over. Yeah, I think he'll overcome all the. Can the patriarchy be at ringside? Is there any stipulation against that?
no, it's just not a quit match.
Okay, so I think he'll overcome something from each of the three, and then I think he'll ultimately come up with the win.
Josh, you think we might see Daniel Garcia in this match?
No, but I do
Okay.
think that Sledge will win. I just no. I don't think that we'll. Maybe it. No, I don't. Maybe.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking, it was like someone might have to help Sledge. Yeah, maybe it's not going to be Gangrel. I can tell you that much.
Imagine it was Gangrel.
Slaniel Garcia is going to come.
It could be
out
Mick
Sledge.
Foley. Yeah, maybe Mick Foley will make an appearance.
Slick Foley.
He's trying to find a final match for like he wants to do a death match.
Yeah, I saw that.
I wonder if AEW is going to be the platform.
He said he couldn't. He can't lose weight fast enough, so he's not sure he's going to be able to do it. He said the weight's not coming off as fast as he thought
He would
it was
have to
going to.
do it in a pool for his joints, just so he can move.
He's got floaties on when he's going through.
Yeah.
He's like, take the bats.
It'd be Mick Foley and Darby Allin in a death match. That would be pretty. That would be something else. It'd be like two guys who want to die.
No, you probably just wait until they're both in wheelchairs to fight.
Yeah, Foley will
That'd
probably still
probably
be
be- that'd
alive when
probably be-
Darby's in a wheelchair.
No, fuck. Anyways, that's pretty much it. We covered our topics. Josh, what slices your salami, buddy?
So you know what really slices my salami? WWE can't figure out how to mute their swears, and then there's always a delay right after a very audible fuck. So the other day, Bobby Lashley literally said fuck, and you could hear it, and then there was a delay. So not only did they emphasize, or they didn't get the swear, they then let you sit with it for like a good 5 seconds of silence right after the word fuck
Perfect.
happened. So like why not just acknowledge that sometimes we might hear the word fuck? It's okay. But that's it slices my salami.
Wow. It's you gotta be able to get on that, especially if you're a family product. I don't understand why they're still not just PG-13 or something where they can swear, because let's face it, I think all 7-year-old kids know the F word by this point.
Oh,
I mean, they're all playing any PUBG or any of that. What do they play? They play Minecraft. They're swearing in Minecraft. Fortnite. There you go. I played Killzone, and I remember like 5-10-year-olds. They were calling me racial insults. Yeah,
these kids have cell phones, and they're
Yeah.
allowed to watch wrestling.
I was playing
Yeah.
Rocket League, and I had some 6-year-old kid call me Whitey.
Oh.
I'm like, how do you know I'm white? I'm like, I can hear it in your voice. You're white. I'm like, okay. Pass the ball, Whitey. Okay, all right. Good, man. Thanks. Chris, finishing off the show here, man. Any last thoughts? Anything that you want to add?
Oh boy, did I ever like that promo from Will Ospreay. I thought that was really good. Really looking forward to that. That's about it. I must have watched it about 15 times, so just so
Sounds
everybody
good.
knows.
Sounds good, bruv.
Yeah, I'm not bruv, I'm not feeling.
Josh, what about you? Final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm really continue to be impressed with Takeshita. Continues to have great matches. I forget who he had a match with there this week, but it was really good, his match. So quite impressed with him. Looking forward to see more from him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I think my final thoughts. Looking forward for Dynamite on Wednesday. Looking forward for Josh to come in. Looking forward for potentially with Chris doing Money in the Bank this summer. Whatever's going on, or fuck WrestleMania, whatever, man. It's all be a good shit when we decide to figure that shit out. But that's it. That's the end of the show. So with that being said, wherever you are in the world, from everybody here at the Rub Wrestling Podcast, Josh, Taskmaster, Chris, as in AKA Big Money Hustler. I forgot what I was going to say. We all bid you
It's
Wherever you
beginning
are.
to show.
wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. We all bid you adieu. Bang.
Cause the beats running copacetic. When it all falls down, I hope you don't forget it. Nico City, son of anarchy, the hype demanded me. Mikey damage, show you amateurs the cost of vanity. So fuck humanity, floating murder open-handedly. Most of my clique, yo, they come from broken families. The world that been open is coming to a closure. Can't find peace in a world full of soldiers. Can't stop getting older. Up north where the streets run colder.